Welcome back to Ghost Fired Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Tubi. So for those of you not familiar with this channel, once a week I go searching through the popular streaming platforms and come up with 10 horror movies to recommend to you guys. This week I went searching through Tubi and came up with 10 horror movies that I think you will enjoy. And with that, let's get to the list. Final Girl is an entertaining, stylish little movie that I just recently discovered. I'd heard about it before, but had never checked it out. It's definitely a movie to not overthink and kind of check your brain at the door a bit, because if you overthink it, you're gonna miss out on the fun. So like a lot of movies on this list, this is a small indie film, but it has a fantastic cast. It stars Abigail Breslin, Alexander Ludwig, and Wes Bentley, and they all do just a fantastic job in this movie and are a lot of fun to watch. So the story of this movie is about this little girl played by Abigail Breslin, who is raised from the time she's a little girl to be a trained assassin. So she's trained to basically go and kill serial killers. Her main target once she grows up is this group of guys that hunt girls. They literally take girls out to this woods area and they hunt them for sport. And so her job is to infiltrate them, get them to trust her, and then take them out. And it's a pretty simple story, and there's really not a lot more than that to it. I love that it takes place in like the 1950s, and so all the guys that are this group of killers, they all dress in tuxedos. It's just dripping in style, everything from the lighting to the costume design. It's very well directed by first-time director Tyler Shields. It's just a fun movie and definitely worth checking out.
Kill your old life, Sarah. Bury it in the earth. And join us in the skies.
That's me. I'm your girl. I will do whatever it takes for this role.
So Alex Esso absolutely shines as the lead in this movie. She blew me away in this performance. I've seen her in projects before like Dr. Sleep, as well as most recently in Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass on Netflix, and she does a great job. I really enjoyed her performances in those. But this is where I really realized just how talented she is. So this is a movie about a young girl who is played by Alex Esso, and she plays this young actor in Hollywood just trying to get a break wherever she can. And she's surrounded by a group of friends who are also kind of desperate, recently out of college kind of deal. And she just kind of doesn't want to be a part of that life. And so she's trying everything she can to get up and out. Well, she gets a call for this audition and goes. And it's for a horror movie. And it is a little strange at first, but without giving anything away, it gets more and more bizarre from there and eventually takes her down this wild, dark journey to basically find out the answer to the age-old question of what are you willing to do for success?
Sarah, if you can't fully let yourself go, how can you ever transform into something?
And in telling that story in this, it's very dark, very disturbing, bloody, gory, has some gross body horror stuff. It's a bleak, disturbing ride that I highly recommend taking.
Let's play.
So Wolf Creek is one of the most disturbing, demented, dark slasher movies that I can think of. And the fact that it's based on a real story, you could just really feel that in the fibers of this movie. Everything from just the gritty way that it's shot to the actors involved. It has Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes to it, in my opinion. Most movies of this nature just don't get to me, don't bother me, don't disturb me, but this one really did. I'm not saying it's the most craziest thing in the world, because I know there's things beyond this I'm sure that I have yet to see, but something about the way this movie is done really just gets under my skin. A lot of it is John Jarrett, who plays the villain Mick Taylor in this movie. Just the way he portrays this guy, everything from his happy-go-lucky demeanor to just flipping that switch and becoming super demented.
What do you actually do? Well, I can tell you, but then I'm gonna have to kill you.
So this movie's about this young group of friends who are traveling across Australia, across the backcountry of Australia, when their car breaks down. And they come across Mick Taylor, who's a local, and he seems friendly and helpful. And as you could guess, it just goes off the rails from there. This is just such a well-done movie that I think it's an absolute must.
Are you willing to die for this?
The Final Cut is one of my all-time favorite Robin Williams movies, and it's funny to me because it is so little talked about. And I think this is an absolute gem, because if you enjoy sci-fi psychological thrillers with horror elements in them, you can't go wrong with this movie. So it's about Robin Williams, who in this movie is what is called a cutter. And his whole thing is he basically edits people's memories. So in this universe that the movie takes place, people capture their memories, their whole lives. There's a little chip in your head and it's recording your entire life, your whole memory bank from your whole life. And when you die, someone like Robin Williams' character cuts it. They edit it together and make this snapshot of your life that is played in memory at your funeral type of deal.
My husband was a great man, Mr. Hackman. He deserves to be remembered as a great man.
Deletion confirmed.
He just edits the memories of people after they die, and he's asked to basically take and cut out anything bad and just make this really beautiful little tribute to these people when they die. And he comes across some memories of some things he is not meant to see, and it takes him down this rabbit hole of crime and murder. This is a very entertaining, wild thrill ride that is made even better by the fact that Robin Williams gives a great performance in this movie. This is definitely one that I recommend.
I need more parts.
May.
I know you would never hurt me, May.
So May is the first part of my double feature weekend. This is a fun, disturbing little tale. It's about a girl named May who is very socially awkward, as well as pretty insane. She meets this guy who seems like he's the love of her life, but things go sideways with him, as well as some other relationships she comes across along the way, and she just starts doing very dark, disturbing things in her search for some kind of perfect partner.
If you can't find a friend, make one.
The story of a girl.
What you reading about?
Amputation.
You have a beautiful neck.
I love your hair.
You have really beautiful legs.
I love your tattoo.
Angela Bettis is so entertaining to watch in this role, as you watch her slip further and further into her delusions and get further and further away from reality. In general, this is a darkly humorous movie that I had a great time with, and I definitely recommend it.
I'm turning my life around. I realize it's not all about me anymore.
So Excision is the second part of my double feature weekend. And I think this fits really well with May because it also has this kind of bleak, dark sense of humor about it. It in no way is what I would call a comedy, but everything is done in this almost tongue-in-cheek, demented way where you will find yourself laughing out loud at some really disturbing things. This is an absolutely twisted, perverse little movie, and I absolutely love it. This movie is gory and disturbing on just about every level possible.
Some of your behavior has been downright sociopathic. I don't know a teenager who doesn't profile as a sociopath.
There's a lot of nudity and it deals with a lot of themes that are not going to be comfortable for some people. But if you're into twisted, strange little indie movies, then this is an absolute gem. It's about a teenage girl who has a very demented, strange mind. And throughout the movie, you get these flashes into her mind, into her delusions, and you slowly start to see the world through her eyes, like way she fantasizes about things, the things that she would like to do. And as the movie goes, you just realize more and more just how warped her brain is. This is another one that has got a lot of flair, a lot of style, a lot of art appeal about it. Just the way they use gore, the way they use nudity is a very fine art almost type of setting but it's also very warped and very disturbing. But if you're into dark, bizarre movies that have a twisted sense of humor, then I think this is an absolute can't miss.
Turistas.
Oh God, I wanna go home.
So Turista is a movie from the early 2000s that I'd heard of a little bit here and there, but I didn't realize how much this movie fits into that early 2000s horror. It's got a decent budget, it looks good, it's got all those things. However, that is what I consider to be the worst era of horror, is the early 2000s. Just how they got nothing but absolutely stunning, gorgeous supermodels to play even the smallest role in these movies. How they had just a ton of brainless characters that were just there to be killed. On top of that, the dialogue, the way people talk to each other in this era never feels real. It's just laughable in a cringy way. And so because of that, there's definitely movies from that era that I've missed, and this is one of them. Does this movie have some of those elements? Yes. But I think in general, it is way better than most of those, and it's very odd to me how little I've heard of this movie. Because I gotta say, I was very pleasantly surprised on how much I enjoyed this film. It's about a group of young people in Brazil who meet each other on a bus. They basically get stuck when the bus they're in has an accident, basically, and they're stuck. And they all decide, hey, let's hang out together, let's go to this little bar and just have a good time. So they start partying and have a great time. They wake up in the morning and realize they've been completely robbed of everything they have.
They robbed us.
What did they take?
Our money, our credit cards, our passports, everything. We have no way out of here.
And that's where the movie really starts to shine, because they're traveling through this wilderness, this jungle of Brazil, and it's gorgeous. And then they come across this guy who wants to kill him. And the reason he wants to kill him, I think, is a really unique concept and what really makes this movie interesting than a lot of other early 2000s horror. So I don't think it's a game changer by any means, but if you've never seen it, I think it is definitely worth your time.
Is anyone there?
So The Sixth Sense, pretty much everybody's seen it, and I understand that, but that's not why I put it on this list. The reason I put it on this list is this movie has almost become so famous that it is kind of forgotten in a weird way, because so many people have seen it, and it's been a long time that a lot of us have kind of forgotten just how good this movie is. And this is really on this list for one reason and one reason only, and that is I think it is a great rewatch. I'm assuming everybody's seen it. If for some reason you haven't, then that's even more awesome, and don't let anyone spoil the twist ending. But I think it's a really fantastic movie to look back on, because it's just so much better than I ever remembered it being. The pacing is brilliant. The way it looks, the overall scary, creepy quality of this movie is one of the better movies from that era.
I see dead people walking around like regular people.
So even though the twist is what everybody talks about and what makes this movie famous, I think there is so much more substance to this movie, and if it's been a while since you've seen it, I think you definitely should give it a rewatch.
After he killed him and dismembered him, he cooked him.
What does the boogeyman look like? Now we have to look out for the guy in the khaki pants with the button-down shirt.
Fresh Meat Jeffrey Dahmer is a very well done documentary that does a deep dive into the story of Jeffrey Dahmer. One of the things that really made this shine for me is I'm a big fan of the last podcast on the left, and two of the hosts of that show, Ben Kissel and Henry Zabrowski, basically narrate this. There's a few other people as well, but they're the main ones. And just the knowledge that these guys have when it comes to true crime is just bar none. And they just go deep into the psychosis and just the story and all the gruesome details of what Jeffrey Dahmer did to his victims and just his upbringing and all these things about him.
He personifies every one of our fears.
Another thing that's interesting about this film is that it's one of Tubi's first independently produced projects. And I think for one of their first, it's rather well done. I was pretty impressed by it, to be honest. So for anyone that is a fan of true crime like me, I think this is a very well done documentary and worth checking out.
I've got so much power to give you.
Lord of Illusions is a brilliant Clive Barker film, and it really doesn't get the credit it deserves, because I think it should be right up there with Hellraiser, because I think this movie has a lot of the same vibe that Hellraiser has. And I know personally, I enjoy this movie, maybe not quite as much as Hellraiser, but it's gotta be right up there with it. So the basic premise of it is about this detective, played by Scott Bakula, who is trying to find out about this creepy cult. And as he goes deeper and deeper, he starts realizing that these magicians, these illusionists, and these things he sees on the surface, as he gets into this cult situation, he realizes that there may be some truth and some real supernatural stuff going on.
See, that's his best trick. No illusions, just the truth.
If Nix is back from the dead, then he is some kind of a god.
It's full of evil magic and Clive Barker gore, as well as there's a real neo-noir feel about this. It's got this old gumshoe detective meets supernatural, dark, crime, evil, cultish stuff. I just think it's a really fun little movie. Granted, some of the CGI is not aged all that well, but if you can get past that, I think this is a fun story, and one that if you've never checked out, I think is definitely a must. All right, that's going to do it for me today. Please leave your comments down below. Let me know if there's anything on Tubi that I need to watch, because I love recommendations. They really do help me out. Also, if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week. I also want to give a huge, massive thank you to my patrons, because you guys, your support seriously means so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.